If I Were a Tree by Andrea Zimmerman, illustrated by Jing Jing Song. If I Were a Tree. To Rachel and for my parents, TT and MF Song, who introduced me to wild places. If I were a tree, I know how I'd be. My trunk strong and wide, my limbs side to side. I'd stand towering tall, high above all, my leaves growing big and buds on each twig. If I were a tree, that's how I'd be. If I were a tree, I know what I'd feel, the warmth of the sun and squirrels on the run. I'd feel nests on my bark, bats hiding till dark, the climbing of boots and worms by my roots. If I were a tree, that's what I'd feel. If I were a tree, I know what I'd taste, the layers of land, the soil and sand. I'd taste old buried bones and pebbles and stones, and waters that flood and minerals and mud. If I were a tree, that's what I'd taste. If I were a tree, I know what I'd smell, sweet honey and bees, and skunk on the breeze. I'd smell smoke on the air, the breath of a bear, old fungus decay, and rain on the way. If I were a tree, that's what I'd smell. If I were a tree, I know what I'd hear, far thunder's low growl, the hoot of an owl. I'd hear snakes in a hole, the sneeze of a mole, a rocky stream flow, the swishing wind blow. If I were a tree, that's what I'd hear. If I were a tree, I know what I'd see. Hills misty with fog, the life in a log. I'd see blossoms appear and tiny new deer, a web draped with dew, the dawn turning blue. If I were a tree, that's what I'd see. If I were a tree, I know what I'd love. The wind's playful tugs, the humming of bugs. I'd love smelling the pine and geese in a line, the taste of the earth and every seed's birth. If I were a tree, that's what I'd love. If I were a tree, I know what I'd know. The days come and go, and green leaves will grow. I know branches can bend, and cold spells will end, that spring will renew, and life carries through. If I were a tree, that's what I'd know. Exploring trees. There are more than 1 trillion trees on Earth. You can use your 5 senses to get to know the ones that live near you. Seeing. Look at the overall shape of each tree. Is it tall and lanky or short and bushy? Look at the leaves. Are they broad or needle-like? Touching. What does the bark feel like? Is it rough or smooth? Do the leaves feel furry or prickly? Are there roots or seeds you can touch? Smelling. Some trees have fragrant flowers or zesty sap that you can smell. If you hug a tree, how does the bark smell? If you wrinkle a leaf, what scent does it have? Tasting. You probably can't taste any of the trees that live in your neighborhood, but there are many trees that we do taste. We eat delicious fruits and nuts and spices from trees. Even chocolate comes from trees. Hearing. On blustery days, you can hear the wind whistling through the leaves of a tree. You may also hear the birds and bugs that make their homes in the branches of trees. There are more than 60,000 different kinds of trees on Earth. You can learn more about trees in your area using books like The Tree Book for Kids or The Grown Ups by Gina Ingoglia, or a field guide for your state. Thank you for listening.